Sri Satyanarayan Katha, Chapter 1. Once upon a time, Shaunak Muni and several other rishis or sages assembled at a retreat in the forest called Naimisharanya and asked Maharishi Sut, who was well versed in the Purans, this question: O Maharishi, what sort of vrata or tapasya, prayer or penance should we perform in order to have our desires fulfilled? We should like to hear all about it. Suta replied, the great sage Narad Mahamuni asked this very same question of Lord Vishnu, the consort of Lakshmi. Listen attentively to what he was told. Narad, who was a great yogi and a well-wisher of all beings, travelled through several worlds and finally came down to earth, the world of mortals. There he saw human beings trapped in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth and suffering endless misery. Narad weighed the situation and pondered by what means and in what manner human suffering can be ended. With that thought, he reached Vaikunth, the abode of Vishnu. There he beheld Narayan, fair complexioned, with a conch, the discus, the mace, and a lotus in his forehead, and a garland adorning his neck. Making obeisance to the Supreme Being, Narad said, O Lord, the mind cannot comprehend you. Speech is inadequate to describe you. Power illimitable is yours. You are beyond time itself. Neither the beginning, nor the middle, nor an end do you have. You possess every attribute, and yet beyond all attributes you are. You are the source and the originator of all that is, and the destroyer too of the afflictions of your votaries. I salute you. Hearing Narad's praise of him, Sri Vishnu Bhagavan said, O Narad, what is the purpose of your visit? What is troubling your mind? If you would tell me, I could allay your anxiety. Whereupon Narad said, O Lord of the universe, mortals on earth are reborn again and again as a result of their past sinful deeds, their evil karma, and suffer from countless afflictions. Please bestow your grace on me and reveal to me an easy way out of their misery. To which Bhagavan replied, Narad, I am pleased with your concern for the well-being of mankind and its destiny. There is a religious rite which humanity may observe, and a spiritual discipline which it may practice, and thereby attain liberation from delusion and the bondage of attachment. Neither in heaven nor on earth has it been known heretofore. Out of my friendly feeling and affection for you, I shall now reveal it to you. By performing Satyanarayan Katha strictly in accordance with the prescribed rites, one may enjoy happiness here on earth and moksha or liberation hereafter. Hearing the words of Sri Vishnu Bhagavan, Narad asked, in what manner is the vrata to be performed, and what is its fruit or reward? Please educate me fully. The Lord answered, this vrata destroys all sorrow and brings peace of mind. It confers wealth, prosperity, and progeny. It ensures success in every endeavor and wards off all adversity. It must be performed whenever one embarks upon any great enterprise in life. The Lord went on to say, this vrata may be performed on the Ekadashi, the 11th day of the fortnight, or on Purnima, the full moon day. It may be performed month after month, and if circumstances are not propitious, at least once a year. Men and women of any station in life are free and fit to perform it. After a day-long fasting and prayer, one must gather one's relatives at dusk, and with the guidance of the priest, perform Satyanarayan Katha with steadfast devotion. Nevedyam or prasad made of cracked wheat, ghee, milk, sugar, and bananas must be offered. After listening to the relentless Satyanarayan Katha, along with friends and relatives, one must distribute the prasad to everyone and offer dakshina of money and clothes to the priests. Ecstatic kirtan, soulful bhajan, and sacred dance must be performed, and devotees must return to their homes, their minds immersed in the nearness and reality of God. When this vrata is diligently performed, one's wishes are granted and desires fulfilled. Especially in this Kali Yuga, this vrata makes for an easy way of attaining contentment. Thus ends the first chapter of Satyanarayan Katha, written in the canto called Devakanda Skanda Purana. Bolo Shri Satyanarayan Ki Jai! Chapter 2. Maharishi Sut continued addressing the assembly. O Rishis, I will now tell you who all have observed Satyanarayan Katha in the past. In the beautiful city of Kashi, there once lived a poor and destitute priest. Plagued by acute hunger and thirst, he wandered about from place to place. The Lord, who has a special fondness for the priestly class, disguised himself as an old Brahman and asked the indigent priest, O worthy friend, you are learned in the scriptures, and yet you seem to wander about aimlessly and in anguish. I should like to know what it is that ails you. The priest answered, I am an utterly impoverished Brahmin. Unable to bear the pangs of hunger, I beg for alms. Sir, if you know a way which will get me out of my misery, please tell me. Whereupon the Lord, who was in the guise of an old Brahmin, said to the starving priest, Satyanarayan is another form of Mahavishnu. In this benevolent form, he grants his devotees' wishes. You should perform this most excellent of vratas and reap its reward, the elimination of sorrow and liberation from the bondage of karma. The Lord then explained to him in detail the way of performing the vrata and vanished from sight. The poor Brahmin immediately resolved to perform the vrata. Overjoyed and excited with what he had heard, he spent a sleepless night, woke up early in the morning, and went on his begging rounds, determined to perform the vrata. On that day, he obtained a lot of money, with which he completed the vrata together with his friends and relatives. So powerful was the effect that he was freed from sorrow and he came to be endowed with great wealth. Thereafter, he performed the vrata month after month on Purnima, was absolved of all his sins, and realized that most difficult of all goals, the attainment of salvation. Maharishi Sud said to the rishis that he had told them what was originally narrated by Lord Vishnu to Narad Muni, and asked them if there was anything more they wanted to know. The sages wanted to hear if anyone else listened to the story from the Brahman and performed the vrata. Maharishi Sud responded with another anecdote. When this priest from Kashi, now prosperous, was performing the Satyanarayan Katha in grand style with relatives and friends, a woodcutter stopped by. Removing the bundle of firewood from the top of his head and placing it in the street, he entered the house for a drink of water. Observing the goings on, he inquired of the priest the nature of the ritual he was engaged in and the fruit of that activity. The Brahmin told the woodcutter that he was performing the vrata of Sri Satyanarayan, who grants all wishes, fulfills all desires, and bestows plenty and prosperity. Pleased with what he had learned, the woodcutter slaked his thirst, ate the prasad was offered to him, and returned to his hometown. With the thought of Satyanarayan firmly lodged in his mind, he resolved the next morning that he would perform the vrata with whatever money he earned by selling firewood. He repaired to that part of town where the affluent citizens lived, and was delighted that he obtained twice the amount of his usual profit. With the proceeds, he purchased milk, ghee, bananas, cracked wheat, and other ingredients for the puja, and observed the vrata strictly in accord with the injunctions given by the Brahmin, and in the company of neighbors and relatives. The woodcutter, too, was blessed with wealth, children, earthly pleasures, and happiness, and in the end reached the abode of truth, attaining immortality. Thus ends the second chapter, Satyanarayan Katha, changed in the canto called the Devakana Skanda Purana. Bolo Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai! Chapter 3. Maharishi Sud continued. O eminent sages, I shall now narrate to you one other story, that of Ulkamuk. Ulkamuk was a great and wise king, and a trained self-mastery through the control of the senses. He was well known for truthfulness to truth. Devout and of generous temper, he worshipped the temple every morning and distributed bounteous gifts to the priests and made them happy. Samugda, his lotus-faced wife, was a pure and pious lady. One day, the royal couple was performing Satyanarayan Katha on the banks of the river Bhadrashila. At the same time, a wealthy merchant by the name Sadhu, who was sailing past, stopped his boat, which was full of merchandise that he hoped to sell for a handsome profit. Curious to know what was going on, he lighted from his boat and addressed the king. Your Majesty, would you kindly tell me what it is that you are performing with such reverence and devotion? The king replied, Together with my kith and kin, I am worshipping Lord Vishnu of unsurpassed radiance, so that he might bless me with children. On hearing this, Sadhu the merchant submitted to the king that he do not have any children, and humbly requested the king to instruct him in the proper method of performing the vrata. Sadhu learned from the king the entire ritual, and quickly completing his business transactions, returned to his hometown. Reaching home, he conveyed to his wife Lilavati the joyous news that the performance of the Satyanarayan Katha would fulfill their desire to have children. Sadhu immediately resolved that he would perform the vrata once a child was born to them. Then by divine grace, Lilavati conceived, and in the 10th month delivered a beautiful baby girl. So beautiful they named her Kalavati. Day by day, Kalavati shone like the waxing moon. Lilavati reminded her husband of his pledged word to perform the vrata once a child was born, and gently questioned why he didn't do so. But Sadhu calmed her down, saying he would perform at the time of their daughter's wedding, and went about town intent on business. Meanwhile, Kalavati grew up and blossomed into a lovely young maiden. One day, when Sadhu observed Kalavati playing with her friends, it occurred to him that she had come of marriageable age. He promptly dispatched a messenger to find a suitable young man whom he could offer his daughter in marriage. Reaching the city of Kanchannagar, the messenger found a good-natured young man from a Vaishya family. Sadhu, his wife and relatives were all thoroughly satisfied that this handsome young man was a worthy match for his daughter, and her marriage was celebrated with great pomp and splendor. In all the merrymaking that ensued, Sadhu, to his great misfortune, entirely forgot to perform the vrata, thus inviting the wrath of Lord Satyanarayan. Not long afterwards, Sadhu set out with his son-in-law on a business trip to Ratnapur, a bustling seaport then governed by the great King Chandraketu. But Satyanarayan now decided Sadhu must meet with his retribution. As a result, some thieves robbed the valuables from the king's treasury and were running away with their loot. The king's guardsmen followed them in hot pursuit. The frightened thieves threw the stolen property near Sadhu and his son-in-law and ran away. Finding the king's treasure in Sadhu's possession, The guards arrested him and his son-in-law and brought them before King Chandraketu. The king had the two merchants committed to prison immediately and also had all their property confiscated. And because of Lord Satyanarayan's Maya, nobody listened to what the merchants had to say in their own defense. Meanwhile, Lilavati's own home was burglarized and she lost all her belongings. She was physically ill and mentally tormented. Afflicted by hunger and thirst, she went from home to home in search of food. One day, the famished Kalavati ran out of home, and as she was wandering, she happened upon a Brahmin's house when Satyanarayan Katha was being performed. She waited till the puja ended, listened to the katha, partook of the prasad, and returned home. Lilavati asked her daughter lovingly why she returned home so late and what was troubling her mind. Kalavati promptly told her mother that she was observing the Vrata, which grants one's boons, and gave her the prasad she brought with her. Reminded of her husband's unfulfilled pledge to perform the Vrata, Lilavati instantly resolved to do it herself. Gathering her friends and relatives, she prayed to Lord Satyanarayan to forgive her husband's transgressions and grant her wish for the safe return to their home of her husband and son-in-law. Pleased with Lilavati's soulful performance of the Vrata, Lord Satyanarayan appeared in King Chandraketu's dream and ordered him to release the two merchants from imprisonment forthwith and also restore to them the property he confiscated. The Lord warned the king, "If you fail to follow my instructions, your kingdom, wealth, and children will all be destroyed." Next morning, the king described to his council the vivid dream he had dreamt, and ordered his guards to release the two men. When the merchants were brought before the king, they stood there humbly but in terror, recollecting the unfortunate events of the recent past. King Chandraketu soothed their fears and talked to them gently. "The two of you have suffered a great deal because of the workings of divine providence. I assure you there's nothing for you to fear anymore." So saying, the king ordered them released. After they were clean shaven and washed, the king presented them with new clothes and ornaments and twice the amount of wealth he had confiscated from them earlier. King Chandraketu then advised them to return to their home safely and wished them well. The merchants in turn promised they would do so, much obliged. Thus ends the third chapter of Satyanarayan Katha, as written in the canto called Deva Khanda of the epic Skanda Purana. Bolo Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai! Chapter 4. Mahasyuv continued his narrative. Sadhu and his son-in-law went on a pilgrimage and offered gifts to priests before they set sail to their hometown. After they voyaged some distance and halted, Satyanarayan decided to test if the merchants had undergone a genuine change of heart. He took the form of a mendicant sannyasi and inquired of the merchants what they were carrying in their boat. "Why do you need to know that?" the merchants retorted haughtily, adding, "Were you planning to steal our wealth? Anyway, all that we have in here is just some withered leaves and creepers." The mendicant sannyasi exclaimed, "So be it," and swiftly walked away and sat by the seashore. Sadhu completed his early morning chores and observed that his boat was floating lightly in the water. When he went to verify if everything was intact, he discovered to his amazement that there were only leaves and creepers in the boat, just as the sannyasi had pronounced. Sadhu fainted at the sight and, regaining consciousness, wept inconsolably. It was his son-in-law who surmised that this catastrophe befell them because of the sannyasi's curse. "The sannyasi alone can undo this," he said, and persuaded Sadhu that they should go and seek the mendicant's forgiveness. Sadhu fell at the sannyasi's feet and implored him to absolve them of their sins. "O great soul, we are ignorant and perverse. We have offended you with our pride and willfulness." So saying, Sadhu prostrated himself repeatedly at the sannyasi's feet. Lord Satyanarayan, who was in the guise of a sannyasi, said to the grieving merchant, "Do not weep, but hearken to what I say. You have time and again violated your pledged word and invited punishment. It is I that have decreed all of your retribution." Whereupon Sadhu confessed in contrition, "O Lord, drowned in your Maya we are deluded. Even Brahma and the other Devtas not fully comprehend your glorious and wondrous nature. How can I, a mere mortal, proud and sinful, deserve your grace? I shall never again commit a transgression. O Lord, have mercy on me." Lord Satyanarayan, hearing these words of repentance, granted Sadhu his boon, restored his merchandise, and vanished. When Sadhu boarded his boat, he found to his immense satisfaction and astonishment that all his merchandise was untouched. He performed the long-promised Vrata to express his gratitude to Satyadeva and set sail once again. As they got close to Ratnapur, Sadhu dispatched a messenger to convey to his wife and daughter the happy news of their husband's homecoming. At that very time, Lilavati and Kalavati were performing Satyanarayan Katha. Lilavati finished her puja, hurried to the seashore to meet her husband, asking Kalavati to follow suit. The young lady, in her eagerness to meet her long-lost husband, forgot to partake of the prasad. Lord Satyanarayan, displeased with the young lady's misconduct, decided to teach her the lesson. He caused the boat in which her husband was seated to sink to the bottom of the sea, along with all the wealth in it. Distraught at the sight of her husband's drowning, Lilavati fell to the ground and wept bitterly. Lilavati said to her husband, I cannot comprehend the meaning of this calamity. I have just performed Satyanarayan Katha and so did Kalavati. I don't know for what shortcoming of ours we are being punished. So saying, she clung to her daughter, beside herself with grief. Kalavati, unable to bear any longer her misfortune, was preparing to fling herself into the sea. At this, Sadhu thought that Lord Satyanarayan was sending him some message he could not decipher, and announced that he would perform the Vrata in consummate fashion, and proceed to the Lord repeatedly. Lord Satyanarayan, the compassionate friend and protector of the needy and distressed, was pleased with Sadhu's resolution. A heavenly voice was heard to say, this calamity was caused by Kalavati's negligence. She performed the puja but did not partake of the prasad in her haste to see her consort. Let her go home and take the prasad in return. She will then regain her husband, of this there is no doubt. Kalavati listened to the heavenly voice and instantly repaired to her home to make amends. Returning to the seashore after taking the prasad, she was delighted to see that the boat in which her husband sang was once again afloat. Let's not tarry any longer, Kalavati said to her father. Let's go home and carry out your vow. Sadhu henceforth performed Satyanarayan Katha on every full moon day and on the Sankranti festival. He enjoyed all earthly happiness, and at the end of his life reached Satyapuram, the abode of truth and deathlessness. Thus ends the fourth chapter of Satyanarayan Katha as named in the canto called the Yavakhanda of the epic Skanda Purana. Bolo Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai! Chapter 5. Mahasuth went on, listen, O sages, I have one more story to tell you. There lived a king by the name of Tungalucha, who ruled his subjects wisely and well. He went hunting in the forest, and after a strenuous day of adventure, lay down under a banyan tree to rest and relax. Not far from where he lay, a few cowards were joyously celebrating Satyanarayan Katha with their friends and relatives. The king paid no attention to their devotional exercise and ignored the invitation to join them. After the puja was done, the cowards respectfully offered him the prasad, but he declined to accept it. When the king returned to his palace, he discovered to his horror that all his sons were dead and his granary and treasury destroyed. On reflection, it occurred to the king that it was his pride and arrogance which made him spurn the offer of prasad by the lowly cowherds, and it was because he offended their sensibilities that he had to pay an enormous price for it. Satyadeva has destroyed all that was mine. Let me go back to the forest and do penance for my sins. Having so resolved, Tungalucha went to the cowards and requested them to perform the Vrata for his benefit. Pleased with his becoming humility and devotion, Lord Satyanarayan restored to Tungalucha his wealth and progeny. The king, who was blessed with a righteous enjoyment of earthly comforts by Lord Satyanarayan's grace, finally reached the abode of truth and deathlessness. Having thus concluded his story, Maharshi Sudha observed, whoever performs this arduous Vrata, or sees it performed, or even gets to listen to the story, will acquire wealth of all kinds and obtain prosperity. The poor and destitute will become rich and honored. The hopeless in society will become courageous. The wise will become liberated from the bondage of karma. Indeed, every earthly desire will be fulfilled and moksha attained. Of this there is no question. Particularly in this Kalyug, this Vrata is highly beneficial and is a supreme means for salvation. In Kalyug, the Lord is designated by various names. Some call him Kal, the time spirit. Some call him Satyadeva, or Lord of Truth. Still others call him Satyanarayan. By whatever name he is called, in whatever form he is seen, it is the one and the same Lord who fulfills all the desires of his votaries. I have explained to you the desirability and necessity of performing this Vrata, as well as the method of doing it. Let me now reveal to you the fruit of it. O holy sages, these are the blessings which came upon those who performed Satyanarayan Katha. The poor Brahman of Kashi was reborn as Sudama, who was blessed with prosperity and salvation by Sri Krishna. The woodcutter was reborn as Guha, the king of hunters who devoutly served Sri Ram and attained moksha by his grace. King Ulkamuk was reborn as King Dasharath, the father of Sri Ram by worshipping Lord Ranganath, the Kul Devata of Surya Vansh. Sadhu was reborn as King Mayodhaja, who won the test which Sri Krishna administered to him by offering his body to be cut in two halves to be given away as charity. King Tungadraja was reborn as Manu, the great lawgiver who gave to mankind the righteous code of conduct. Thus ends the fifth chapter of Satyanarayan Katha as narrated in the canto called the Yavakhanda of the epic Skanda Purana. Bolo Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai!